Hello everybody, my name is Phil Rowley and this is my oldest boy Brandon. I want you to join me at my fly tying bench and I'm going to show you how to tie some of my favorite river and stream patterns.
The Bulletproof Prince is a variation of a proven favorite. Its construction allows it to take a serious mauling. Here are the materials you'll need to tie this durable fly.
I've put a size 10 Mustad S82 3906B 2 extra long nymph hook. I tie these down from probably as big as a number 8 down through number 16. It's just a Prince Nymph is just a great fly in rivers and lakes. In lakes, for example, it's an excellent backswim imitation, and of course in rivers it can imitate just a host of different food sources, from mayflies, stoneflies, caddisflies, and those white biot wings just make it stand out and look good to eat. So I've got a 1/8 inch gold bead up on the hook. You could use tungsten. I've got the narrow end towards the hook eye. I'm going to attach our 8/0 or 70 denier tying thread right behind the bead. And we're just going to cover that hook with tying thread to provide a good firm foundation for the balance of the fly. Right down, standard tying procedure, just before it starts to fall off into the band, or roughly halfway between the point of the hook and the smashed down barb. For the tail, we're going to use, I've trimmed 2 goose biots, and what we're going to do is position those in my hand so that they run away from each other. So the convex side, they run away like this and help form a tail. And we're just going to hold those in place so they're about half the hook shank long. Grab them both. I've sort of squashed them down. 1, 2 loose wraps, tighten, and then I just look, and there's enough thread tension to hold them in place, and then I can position them so they're nice and even, and I have a nice V-tail. I'm happy with that position. Quickly get some thread wraps in there before they realize they're free, and we'll just secure those, just trim them even, and I'm just going to secure them right the way up the shank, ensuring a firm tie-in and a good smooth underbody foundation here. Outer body is only as good as the underbody beneath it. It's just a good habit to get into no matter what fly you're tying. With the tail in place, it's time to tie in the rib. I'm just going to bring the tying thread forward. I'll stab the rib into the back of the bead. It just helps position it. And we're going to secure that ribbing all the way down the near side of the hook shank. Just pulling on the rib slightly, lifting it away from the side of the shank, and that'll position it right along the side. And that's in place just like that. With the rib in place, I'm just going to take the tying thread forward. It open wraps right up the hook shank, almost to the rear of that bead. Going to gather it about 5 strands of peacock herl. Roughly align them by the tips. I'm going to trim the very tip section away because it's so brittle. But we're going to tie that in place by that snipped off tip area because the fibers are nice and full. And we're going to secure those all the way down the hook shank. I'm going to take the tying thread forward. Now I'm going to show you how to reinforce peacock herl using a dubbing loop. So what we need to do is we need to form a dubbing loop by pulling down on the tying thread, and I want to form a dubbing loop that's at least 1 inch shorter than this peacock herl. So we pull the herl down temporarily as a measure, pull it back out of the way, form the dubbing loop going around my forefinger, and securing the dubbing loop back to where we tied in the herl. And now we're going to take our our tying thread and just run it right forward. I'm now going to take the peacock herl and stroke it together with the left side of the thread loop. I'm going to come in with this is a cowbird style dubbing tool. You could use a crochet hook style dubbing tool as well. I'm going to go into the loop. Okay, I've passed it right through, come back around, and the point is underneath the peacock herl. Come, and then I twist the tool and I'm going to pull the point now in between the two thread strands. Pull down, and now I've aligned my peacock herl and my dubbing loop together, and I just begin to twist slowly. When you dub peacock herl, you will want to put a few twists in, but don't twist the whole dubbing loop tight. The peacock is very brittle right at this point. So what we're going to do is make a few wraps to get it spun, and then we'll start to wind it forward. And to add further durability, and totally commit myself to the tying of this fly, I've put a light coating of brushable super glue on the tying wraps. We'll get that started, and then we're just going to start winding forward as though we were winding a dubbing loop. So once we get a couple of turns in place, we can continue spinning the dubbing loop tight. Now we're just going to wind forward and continue to form the body right the way up to the rear of the bead. Again, we can add a few more twists and just twist gradually and tie this off as though you're tying off any other dubbing loop material. Chenille, that's essentially what you've created, is a little peacock herl chenille. And that's one durable body. With the body complete, we're going to add further reinforcement by counterwinding the ribbing. And by counterwinding, I'm going to take my fine or small rather gold wire and wind this opposite direction to that which I wound the body. So I'm going to come over the top towards me and back around under away. Come right up behind the bead, pass the tying thread over a couple of times to tie off the wire, in front, behind, in front. Really make sure you get that tied off. And again, pulling and twisting, break away the excess. So that is really a bulletproof body. We have dubbed the peacock herl, applied a coat of super glue to the shank of the hook to glue that down, and then put a rib through it, counter wrapped a rib, and that just, all of those things really combine to make a really durable fly that can have a really good chewing. You know, and peacock herl is beautiful. I always call it nature's crystal flash or flashaboo, but perhaps its one failing is its durability. So the next step is to tie on our legs, and for this I'm just going to wind a hackle out of mottled hen, and I've chosen a fiber. If I was to stand these fibers out, you'll see that they reach back roughly to the base of the tail. It's okay to have them a little exaggerated, and you can see here with this feather, it's got a prominent marked side and a not so prominent marked side, or if you hold the feather, it's not always apparent, but you can see you've got concave under here and convex on this side. We want to tie this wet fly style, so that's with the convex or most prominently marked side of the feather facing the front or facing us. We just tie that in place. It's kind of shifted a bit, but it's still in place. Trim away the excess, and then we're just going to wind the feather forward. I've got the feather tied in. I'm going to attach a set of rotary hackle pliers, but rather than just grab on traditionally right at the tip here, I always like, whether it's dry fly or wet fly hackle, to take a half a turn with my hands to position the feather. So you can see here that feather is riding perpendicular to the body. Okay, it's not twisted, it's nice and straight, it's going to wrap properly for me. I'm going to come in and grip the tip section, and now I'm just going to wind, and I can stroke these fibers back like this and get them flowing in the direction I want to go. And we're just going to, 2 wraps should be ample. Whoops. That never happens at home, right? So 1 wrap, 2 wraps, come forward once, twice, nip in there, trim on top so you don't actually accidentally trim your thread. And we're just gonna, a few errant fibers there. And what I like to do is I like these fibers are gonna flow down and back. So I just take a couple of a couple of strokes if you will, and I hold. You see I've already got them training back as it is, and then just a couple of wraps to secure them. And the beauty of soft hackles, you can just position and manipulate them just how you want, and you can always give them a little bit of a pinch too, because they're very malleable. And I've got one fiber up here. Don't worry about it. If he doesn't want to play, you can just trim out of the way. So there you've got a nice swept back hackle, sort of tied semicircular style with all of the fibers either flowing along the side or underneath. And you could tie them along the side. There's lots of different personality that you can put on your Prince nymphs. Now I'm going to tie on the sort of signature of a Prince nymph, or the white goose biot. So I'm just going to take 2 biots, align them by the tips. I'm going to crisscross them, if you will. So they're crossed at the butts. I'm going to position them so the tips extend just to the tip of the body. I'm going to hold them in place on top of the shank. 1 loose wrap, 2 loose wraps. Add a 3rd for luck. And they're tied in, but they can still be positioned. I can take my scissors points here and I just want to divide them a little bit. There we go. I like the look of that. And another wrap for luck. Oops, careful not to. And we're just going to nip them in small little nips. Don't be too aggressive because you don't want to knock these out of position, which I have managed to do a little bit, but that's okay. Again, we just got to be careful. There we go. That's what I wanted. So again, I had the 3 wraps holding them. I've got them divided where I want. Now I can spin my bobbin counterclockwise to take out the thread twist. Allows me to lay nice flat securing wraps, and we're just going to build up a little thread collar. I can apply some super glue to my tying thread, just a little dab, and just got to whip finish the fly, and we're done. And you could use black tying thread. I've used olive in this case to match the peacock herl. I often tie hot orange to give the fly a little hot orange hot spot as well. So there you go. There's my indestructible Prince. A great river and stream pattern. And don't forget it on lakes for those boatman falls of the early fall period. I hope you enjoyed the fly. For more information on fly fishing, and in particular stillwater fly fishing, you can always visit my website at flycraftangling.com. Of course, you can also find me on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next tying video.